This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. The race to be the next city councillor in Point Douglas is heating up. There are now potentially 3 people vying to represent the Winnipeg ward. Sam Sampson has more.
A big embrace kicking off a big race. Business owner Murkowski registered Wednesday to run for Point Douglas, but he did consider another job first.
I wanted to become a social worker, to tell you the truth, and then, we would have to go back to school. So I said, my dad said, well, the fastest way to answer this calling for public service is you have good intentions, is run as an elected official.
Murkowski and his father run a manufacturing business in Point Douglas. He doesn't live in the ward, but says he knows the area from years of working there. Murkowski's business and philanthropy earned him the Order of Manitoba earlier this year. He's on a leave of absence from the Winnipeg Police Board as he campaigns and says he wants to focus on crime, poor infrastructure, and a lack of services in the ward.
We've been advocating for a new gymnasium space here.
Incumbent Vivian Santos says she's pushed for better services during her first term as councillor. Better rec centres, lower transit fare. She wants to keep going for another 4 years. But she's been in the news for controversial things too. She failed a security check for the Winnipeg Police Board. Some reports noted she knew an alleged drug trafficker. Santos has said she no longer has ties with those people. Mayor Brian Bowman also removed Santos from being deputy mayor last year when she was not open about her COVID-19 vaccination status.
That's the challenge with this job of being in public office. Your personal life does come to the forefront, and it does make the job, let's say, conflicting. But I'd like to think that that has nothing to do with the actual job itself of what I'm being able to do in this position through my advocacy, through all the policies I put through.
Joe Pereira wants the job too. The former real estate broker was banned last year by the Manitoba Security Commission from practicing in the province. He was accused of taking thousands of dollars from potential tenants, then blackmailing them. He says those actions were due to his addictions with alcohol and cocaine. Pereira says he's been sober for 2.5 years, and now he wants to use his experience to address addictions and homelessness.
All I can ask is to give me a chance, and I'll prove that I can be trustworthy. And I'm sober today, and it's the best thing I ever did. And I want to share that with others, and I want to improve the city with it.
Anyone else who wants to run in Point Douglas, or any ward, or for mayor, has until September 20th to register. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Winnipeg police are investigating a homicide in the city's north end. Police were called to the home in a 600 block of Cathedral Avenue around 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. When they got there, they found the body of an 83-year-old man inside the home. Now, they haven't released any details about how the man was killed. The homicide unit is investigating. A man who was seriously assaulted in Winnipeg's South Point Douglas area this morning has died of his injuries. Officers were called to Higgins Avenue between Main and Austin Street just after 3 a.m. That's where they found the man. He was taken to hospital in critical condition, but he was pronounced dead there. Anyone with information is asked to contact police. An announcement made today by a major airline could be a game changer for Manitoba's film and music industry. The CBC's Andrew Wilds explains.
A golden ticket to bring Manitoba's film industry to the next level. Lift off Winnipeg, touchdown Los Angeles. 3 times a week, all year long.
The service will reduce travel time between the cities by almost 50%. For every business, including those in the film and television industry, which already brings more than $1 million a day in production to the province of Manitoba.
It's great news for Manitoba's film and music industry. For years, the industry has begged for a direct flight. Last year, Manitoba's film and TV industry earned more than $360 million for the economy. It believes this announcement will cause that number to soar.
But where can we go from here? I'd like to think $1 billion. In the next 10 years. I think it's achievable.
Erica Daniels is an emerging film director. She says she'd love to visit film festivals and make connections for her work.
I think it's just an opportunity for so much growth that we can be a part of, because we've been, we're kind of disconnected in that way, but this can create that opportunity to kind of build that bridge and that connection to, Hollywood, where all the magic happens.
Daniel says she's also hopeful greater accessibility will present new opportunities for Indigenous storytellers and performers.
We have so many important stories that we need to share. And so, this is just such a special time to see and to witness, and, to be coming up within this time is really special. So I know that there, for the people here in Manitoba, within our community, there's going to definitely be more opportunities for us.
Premier Heather Stephenson says other industries like tourism, trade, and fashion will also benefit.
From our wildlife and outdoor adventures all year round to a world-class performing arts and culture, sports and entertainment sector, Manitoba is a must-see destination for travelers of all ages and all experiences.
WestJet Airlines says flights start at the end of October. Andrew Wiles, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A surge in post-pandemic travel demand has overwhelmed Service Canada and created enormous stress for people who need passports. The wait has been taking months because of a huge backlog. The federal government says it's hired 500 new staffers and extended hours. It opened 5 new offices at the end of July, and today it announced 4 more.
Today, I am announcing that we are expanding passport services to 4 additional Service Canada sites across the country, including here in Trois-Rivières at Quebec, in Sault Ste. Marie in Ontario, in Charlottetown, in Prince Edward Island, and in Red Deer in Alberta.
That's Karina Gould. She says people applying at the locations announced today should be able to pick up their passports in 10 business days. And the hope is that same turnaround time will be available at 9 or 10 other locations soon. Hopefully one of those will be in Manitoba. A beloved city-owned property in the North End is changing. We're talking about the recreational center called the Old X Grounds, also known as Sergeant Tommy Prince Place. Tonight, the city is asking for input on its design ideas. Our Sheila North is at the grounds and joins us now live. Sheila, how's the city engaging the public there today?
Yeah, Janet, the community consultation really started in 2018 when city planners started reimagining this place. And of course, as you mentioned, this was a popular place for the Old X Grounds, and hockey tournaments used to happen here and other community events. And at the time when the city started asking about what they can change this to, there were concerns from the public that they would become inaccessible to the public and that they would lose green spaces. But since then, plans have moved ahead, and we now know that the North District Winnipeg Police Station is coming into this space. And right behind me here in the old arena building, WASAC is going to be there. That's the Winnipeg Aboriginal Sports Achievement Center, and the city planning and recreational department are also planning new outdoor facilities here. And today, as you mentioned, the public were invited to come. People of all ages to come and share ideas on what they would like to see in the outdoor facilities.
Well, outdoor facilities, what kinds of things are they considering, Sheila?
Janet, the City and Recreational Department says they have about $900,000 that they can use to create new outdoor spaces. And some of the ideas so far include new basketball courts, new paved sports, pickleball or tennis courts, ball hockey courts, drop shot games, small skate park, and even outdoor equipment. So lots of ideas being shared by the public, and the city says there's money to do some of that work now.
Now, I know that the open house you're at runs until 7 p.m. That's cutting it a bit tight, depending on what people are doing right now. If someone can't get down there, is there still a way they can participate in the process?
Yes, the city says until August 28th, people can share their ideas online. Go to the city website and you can fill out a survey, but there's also a space there where people can still post ideas on what they would like to see here.
Thank you, Sheila. That's our Sheila North reporting live. A retired priest who is charged with sexually assaulting a 10-year-old girl more than 50 years ago has pleaded not guilty. Arthur Massey's lawyer entered that plea by phone at a scheduled court appearance in Powerview Pine Falls this morning. About 30 people had gathered at that court in support of the victim. The 92-year-old was charged in June with one count of indecent assault of a child. Police say the victim was a student at the Fort Alexander Residential School where Massey worked when the crime took place, sometime between 1968 and 1970. Members of the Saugeen First Nation had initially asked for Massey to take part in a restorative justice process instead of going to trial. Today, the case was moved to Winnipeg for trial by judge only.
Our way would have been in a circle. Our way would have been to listen. Our way would have been to use the 7 teachings. Our way would have been, at the end of the day, open with forgiveness, and I think both parties would have benefited.
The charge was laid after a decade-long RCMP investigation. Police have said more reports have since been made since Massey's release, or rather his arrest, but no further charges have been laid. Massey is due in court again next month. People forced out of Puckatawagan due to a wildfire are one step closer to heading home. Manitoba Hydro says 2 large industrial generators brought into the community by rail are now in operation. That will allow power to be restored, while 77 fire-damaged poles that normally carry electricity into the community are replaced. About 2,000 people were forced from their homes in early July because of that nearby wildfire. We have a happy ending to tell you about for a woman whose puppy was stolen from her North Kildonan backyard. Winnipeggers came together on this case and helped police find her dog. The CBC's Lamia Abuzaid tells us more.
Playtime with Xerxes is more special than ever. This family spent 5 days without him. Zita Simakoko went outside with the dog Friday. She quickly went in to get him a drink. When she came back, he was gone. She thought he snuck out, but after checking her security camera...
Somebody came on a bike. I can see the head, and they started luring him out of the gate. And since he wasn't going, they had to come in and carry him.
Simakoko went to police to report her stolen puppy, then immediately took it to social media, asking Winnipeggers to help.
We couldn't sleep. Every single day for these past 5 days, every single day and night, we are everywhere, every corner of this city looking for Xerxes.
Xerxes was a gift from her sons to help her fill a big void in her life after the death of her father. When she spoke with police...
I was just a mess. I couldn't talk. I was crying and I'm like, I keep saying, I can't lose him. I can't. I just can't lose him. This dog cannot be lost. We cannot afford to lose him.
By Tuesday afternoon, Simakoko got the best call ever. Police followed up on a tip, found the dog, and arrested 2 people. The reunion brought everyone to tears. She went back to social media with the good news.
Thank you so much, Winnipeggers, Manitoba, my fellow Manitobans. Thank you so much for this wonderful gift that you have given back to us. God bless you, God bless you, God bless you. I love my city and I love my fellow citizens. I love my fellow Winnipeggers. What we can do with the power of unity and community is just unheard of.
And that's exactly what brought Xerxes home. Lamia Abuzaid, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Unity and community, those are 2 things we can embrace, aren't they? An iconic Canadian retailer is set to make a comeback. Parent company HBC is hoping to entice bargain hunters with the return of a discount brand. CBC's Nisha Patel has the story.
A decade after closing these doors, HBC wants to revive the Zellers brand at a time when more shoppers are looking for discounts.
I love Zellers. I find their prices were good. I would love to see it come back. I think it would service a lot of people from different incomes.
I think it's great, to have discount stores, especially for those who, can't afford the higher prices.
The company says it will launch a new website for online shopping and will use the space within some existing Hudson's Bay stores to sell housewares, toys, and clothing under the Zellers label.
Perhaps it's an exercise to bring in consumers into Hudson's Bay stores that may not otherwise go to the stores because they may think that they're too expensive.
The new plan also comes as HBC defends a trademark lawsuit against a Quebec family who started to use the Zellers name.
HBC opened 2 Zellers pop-ups inside Bay stores last year, testing whether consumers would welcome a Zellers comeback.
While the company seems to be banking on nostalgia to entice shoppers, analysts say how the launch is executed is key.
People did have fond memories of the branding, but they didn't necessarily have fond memories of the stores.
20 years ago, Zellers was at its peak with more than 350 locations, but business lagged amid competition with Walmart. HBC sold off its leases to Target and had closed most Zellers stores by 2013.
It's really low risk to them to do this. I just don't see it being a massive business like it used to be.
HBC hasn't said which Bay stores will host the Zellers brand first, just that there will be a presence across Canada, launching early next year. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
I've missed Zellers, so I'm very excited about it coming back.
Good.
Not excited about more storms.
Yeah.
Not excited at all.
You know, the third day in a row now, we've been talking about some isolated showers and storms, and some watches and warnings have been popping up here and there. So we're going to go straight to the radar, and I'll show you what's going on around us. You can see some of those showers close to the Winnipeg area. Boy, Stonewall at about, I'd say 4:30 this afternoon really got hit with some heavy downpours and some heavy lightning, and that was this one right here. But then it just moved toward Winnipeg and kind of died out. It really weakened quickly. You look out to the west and we can see more action out to the west and off into Saskatchewan. This is all part of a very slow-moving trough of low pressure or low pressure system, and it is going to be providing us with some showers occasionally and some thunderstorms through the evening and overnight. Now we can see some lightning around the Winnipeg area. This shaded area is now a severe thunderstorm warning. The other shaded area here is a severe thunderstorm watch, which has been in effect for quite some time. Up around Fisher River, Cree Nation, north of Arborg, there was that storm a few hours ago, and you can see how quickly it just shredded out. This one had moved through McCreary, provided a warning. Then the warning was moved off into areas around Alonza, and now it is looking to me like it is starting to split up into 2 separate cells and weaken. So short-lived storms, but they still provide a threat, the threat of lightning, the threat of hail the size of nickels or quarters, even a little bit larger. And last hour, we're reporting a little bit of light rain out at the airport, but downtown here, the streets are dry. 23 right now, that's down from 28 degrees earlier. Northwest winds now at 15, and dew points are still very high as 20 earlier, now at 18. So this is how it's going to look overnight tonight as this low kind of transits across the southern part of the province. May get a bit of a break on Thursday morning from the rain. You can see the showers are widely scattered, but then on into the afternoon, this really starts up again. You can see this through northwestern Ontario, southeastern and southwestern Manitoba. In the afternoon, showers and storms. We could see rainfall rates here that are quite high. Then high pressure starts to move in Friday and really clears us out for the weekend. I want to show you this, and I'm going to show you this quickly. The graph model over the next 36 hours calls for rainfall amounts that are around 22 in Kenora, 14 Winnipeg, higher amounts to the west. And then you go to the Canadian model, and the numbers are different. And this is what makes it a little difficult to, nail down how much rain we will receive. What the different models are seeing here, and now I'll show you the European model, is the fact that thunderstorms can drop higher amounts of rain than areas that are very close by. But this one also shows higher amounts down through Portage and Winkler, and 22 in Kenora, 14 in Winnipeg. I'm thinking 20 to 30 is possible with higher amounts that are under storms. We get a bit of a break in the morning, but then the afternoon temperature is only at 21 with a risk of thunderstorms once again carrying on into Thursday evening. Then the clearing on Friday, I think before lunchtime, and that high pressure brings lots of sunshine, warmth, and dry conditions for the weekend.
Weather update is brought to you by Home Equip, your trusted local source for Pride Mobility scooters. From sales to rental and repair, our team is here to serve you.
Today, the Manitoba government agreed to extend coverage for a cystic fibrosis drug called Trikafta to children and adults aged 6 and up. Until today, it was only covered for those 12 and up. This means the drug is now available for kids like Wyatt.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H.
Estimates put the cost of Trikafta at $300,000 per year, well out of range for most families. So to Wyatt's mom, Sherilyn Spring, who also chairs the Manitoba chapter of Cystic Fibrosis Canada, today's announcement spells hope. Hi, Sherilyn. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
What does this day mean to you?
I think you nailed it when you said hope. It just gives us hope for the future and just hope that Wyatt gets to live a normal, long, healthy life, just like we wish for our other children. So it's definitely a day of hope for the future.
Half of Canadians who have cystic fibrosis and who have died in the past 3 years were under the age of 34. There's still no cure for it. What does Trikafta do that makes it such a game changer?
So most of the medications that Wyatt is currently on treat the symptoms of CF. So, inhalers to open airways, inhalers to help with inflammation in the lungs and all that kind of stuff. But what Trikafta does is it goes down and it treats the root cause of CF. So it goes down to the cellular level and it just really treats that defect, the genetic defect that people with CF have. And yeah, it's not just treating the symptoms, it's actually going in and fixing the issue. So
him getting on this drug so young, what do you hope this means?
We just really hope that, he's able to keep the relatively healthy lungs that he has today. I mean, he's still young. So with CF being a disease that, kind of gets worse over time, you get damage that kind of accumulates. We're hoping that we're getting ahead of the issue and able to kind of prevent those problems from coming and preventing the damage that you do see over time. So getting ahead of the issue and just really giving us more time to enjoy with Wyatt.
And fingers crossed, possibly he may never get truly sick. Fingers crossed.
That's the hope. Yes, absolutely. It is definitely the hope is that we don't have to watch him go through what we've seen so many other people before us with CF have to go through.
So forgive me, but as a parent who from day one has tried so hard to live in the moment and not think about the future, but you can't help but when you have a child with a potentially life-limiting disease, what does this mean? Like when you look at your husband tonight, what are you guys going to be thinking?
Oh, well, think about, all the things that, you haven't been able to think about in the past, like the same things we think about for our other kids, like, watching him get married and, having kids and we get to have grandkids and watching them play. And it's just being able to achieve everything that anybody would dream of, have a career, all of that, graduate, play sports, do whatever his heart desires. That's definitely what Trikafta gives us the opportunity to hope for. And we don't have to be so fearful of the future and the unknowns because we have this game changer that he's gonna, have access to and just have it change his life for sure.
Sherilyn Spring, thank you so much for taking the time today to explain this to us, and have an absolutely fabulous evening with your family.
Thank you so much.
Lost Wyoming's Republican primary. She fell in a landslide to a candidate endorsed by the former president. What that result says about Donald Trump's grip on the Republican Party. Stay with us. U.S. Republican Liz Cheney said today she's thinking about running for president. Yesterday, she was trounced in a primary by a candidate backed by Donald Trump.
2 years ago, I won this primary with 73% of the vote. I could easily have done the same again. The path was clear. but it would have required that I go along with President Trump's lie about the 2020 election. It would have required that I enable his ongoing efforts to unravel our democratic system and attack the foundations of our republic. That was a path I could not and would not take.
A Republican senator from Alaska, Lisa Murkowski, who voted to impeach Trump while he was still president, still did manage to win herself a place on the ballot in November. Meantime, Trump supporter Sarah Palin, also from Alaska, advanced to the November midterms as a candidate for Congress. A doctor in Eastern Ontario is facing 3 additional counts of first-degree murder. Dr. Brian Nadler was already charged in connection with the death of an elderly patient in Hawkesbury. Matthew Kupfer has the story.
Dr. Brian Nadler was originally charged with murder in March of 2021. At the time, Ontario Provincial Police said they were investigating possible connections to other deaths at the Hawkesbury and District General Hospital. The hospital is about an hour east of Ottawa and receives patients from both sides of the provincial border. The latest alleged victims are 3 women, 79-year-old Lorraine Lalande, 80-year-old Claire Brière, and 93-year-old Judith Langulescu. A statement from the Hawkesbury Hospital confirms the patients were under Nadler's care. The hospital says it's cooperating with police, and its immediate concern is providing appropriate care and support to the families of deceased patients. In April of last year, CBC News confirmed the investigation into Nadler was related to the death of COVID-19 patients. Police say Nadler was arrested at his home today, 16 months after the investigation began.
And any investigation like this can be very difficult. We have to work through a lot of details and make sure that we're thorough in collecting all information, so it can be very difficult.
In a statement, Nadler's lawyers say all 4 patients died of COVID-19, with Nadler providing, quote, excellent palliative care. His lawyers also said in an email he was released on the same bail conditions from the original charge, which include a ban on practicing medicine, as well as from communicating with hospital staff, patients, or relatives treated at the Hawkesbury and District General Hospital. The Ontario Provincial Police say the investigation is ongoing. Matthew Kupfer, CBC News, Ottawa.
Statistics Canada released new information today focusing on language use in this country. The agency says English and French are still strong. Certain Asian languages are growing, and Indigenous languages are seeing a resurgence. CBC's David Thurton has the details.
Canada's 2 official languages are supposed to be on equal footing. But according to Stats Canada, one is in decline.
We see for French a decrease in the proportion of the people who speak, who has French as their first official language spoken.
This graph shows that over the last 2 decades, the number of people who predominantly speak French at home has increased, but Canada's total population has been steadily rising. And when you account for that, the number of French speakers as a proportion of the population has declined from 23% in 1991 to around 19% in 2021. Among Francophones, there's a mixed reaction.
No, and don't worry. In 50 years, we will have to create some measures to keep our French.
This researcher isn't panicking.
The decline is not as steep when you take into consideration those people declaring more than one language.
But the federal government says it's taking action.
That's why we're moving forward with an ambitious legislation and also an ambitious action plan for the next 5 years.
Meanwhile, maybe in part to immersion programs like this, Indigenous languages are seeing a resurgence. Stats Canada says.
My hopes for these children are that they go and they practice with each other, with their peers, that they're brave and they're proud of their language.
This restaurant feeds the South Asian diaspora, serving them in their native languages, which according to Stats Canada, are seeing significant growth.
Before coming over here, I don't know that people will be speaking my language or not.
So we usually prefer English, like we are okay with English, but most of our regular customers are using Gujarati and Hindi.
Stats Canada says what's fueling this linguistic diversity is, of course, immigration. And that's at a cost to French, it says, because most newcomers opt to speak English when they settle here. David Thurton, CBC News,
Ottawa.
Two migrant workers who accuse their employer of overcharging them for rent have won their case, but lost their jobs. They were fired, along with 3 colleagues, just weeks after filing their complaints with Quebec's Workplace Health and Safety Board. The company says the workers made comments that hurt its reputation. CBC's Verity Stevenson reports.
The workers from Madagascar gathered in this park near their apartment building to discuss their next steps. We came here to integrate into Quebec society and pursue our dreams, he says. CBC has agreed to protect the former employees' identity because they fear reprisals and that speaking up could jeopardize their immigration status. All 5 had raised concerns about a rent increase their employer, food processing company Plaisir Gastronomique, was trying to impose on them. Plaisir was already taking $225 from their paycheck every 2 weeks and wanted to raise that to $300. As many as 5 people live in these 3-bedroom units. Michel Pilon helped the 2 workers file the complaints. He says the total amount collected means the company would be getting as much as $3,000 a month per unit. Quebec Labor Law says the most an employer can charge if it's providing accommodation is $53.47 per week, or about $200 a month. A month and a half after Pilon filed the complaints for the 2 workers, they and 3 of their colleagues received a termination letter. The letter said they had made defamatory comments about the company and alleged their claims about being mistreated were simply to obtain permits allowing them to work for someone else. Pilon says it's clear to him the employer wanted to send a message.
C'est un droit, ça, de déposer, bien sûr, des plaintes contre un employeur qui ne se conforme pas à la loi. Et malheureusement, ils en subissent malheureusement les conséquences. Ils ont été congédiés.
Plaisir Gastronomique says it charges that much because of the cost of electricity, internet, furniture, and appliances, and that though it's allowed to charge up to 30% of temporary foreign workers' salary under the federal requirements for the program, it only takes about 17%. The company says it will be fighting the case in court. Verity Stevenson, CBC News, Montreal.
Still ahead, we'll take a look at some quieter play spaces for kids who find regular play spaces a bit overwhelming. And then John Sauter will bring us his look at the Manitoba forecast. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. When you think of summertime play, you might think of noisy, colorful fun for children. But you know, for some kids, it can get a little overwhelming. That's where sensory play areas come in place, a place where kids can enjoy at their own speed. And that's the idea behind changes being made to an indoor area in Labrador City. Take a look at this.
This room is really inclusive for all children. A safe place for children to explore different lights, colors, textures, sounds. This is what we call our harp room. We have a group of families that generously donated money in the initial stages of the harp room when the kids club was first opened. It's always been a sensory room with the intention of providing a safe, calming space to be inclusive for all children to access the indoor playground and to have a quiet, calming space where they can come and as well and socialize and play.
So when I heard that they were doing a sensory type room, I was so excited. Having a autistic child who is very sensory seeking and has different sensory needs, it's amazing that there's a room here especially designed to accommodate children like Charles.
It's my turn. It's the same sort of thing. There's some fine motor skill development, sensory development through sounds, colors, tactile textures. We have our micro LED light display. And so this is really fun. Kids can interact with the lights. They can go inside the waterfall or they can kind of come outside of it. Some kids like to gather the lights up and look at them. And then I think our most popular corner would be see the corner with our bubble tube, and we have that surrounded by 2 mirrors, and the purpose there is for kids to interact with themselves in the mirrors. When the indoor playground gets overstimulating, because it can get loud, it can get busy, this provides those individuals with differing sensory needs a space where they can come. It's quiet.
All the things in here are evidence-based. It's nice knowing that it's not just random things that they put in here, that it's known to have positive benefits for those type of kids who need the sensory stimulation.
Well, talk about senses. Much of China is baking under a record-breaking heat wave. Huge swaths of the country have been sweltering in 40-degree temperatures for more than 2 months now. China's National Weather Office has issued a red alert for high temperatures. The hot, dry conditions are threatening crops and livestock. They forced industries to shut down. Local authorities have imposed power conservation measures to try and make sure there's enough electricity to supply homes. So-called cloud seeding operations are being implemented in an effort to encourage rainfall and replenish water supplies. Meteorologist John Sauter joins us again. We have not needed cloud seeding this year.
Yeah, we're on track to have one of our wettest years on record if things keep going the way they're going. So we've still got a ways to go here, over 4 months. But right now, some warnings to talk to you about. The thunderstorm watch hasn't really changed. It's up through the Interlake, and then we have a warning as well. And you can see them depicted here, that warning just on the west side of the Narrows of Lake Manitoba. And yeah, we can see storms in that area if we zoom in here and get a look at radar and lightning tracking. So Alonza, one just kind of went around you. There's one just going across the Narrows, but they are starting to weaken already just a little bit. As far as temperatures are concerned, where we've had some rain, temperatures fall a little bit and then they come right back up again. Eli at 28, Morris at 27. It's 28 in Steinbach, and we had a 28 earlier in Winnipeg. It's 27 right now downtown. So forecast high 29. You never know, we may still get there through the evening hours. There's a look at the rest of the Southwest. Morden, Winkler at 29. Over in Kenora, you're at 27, 26 in Barons River. Nice to finally get a temperature out of Barons River. The indicator has been kind of on the blink lately. 20 in Flin Flon, 25 in Thompson, 24 in Churchill. And, Churchill's temperature at this time of year is really based on the wind direction. Tomorrow, the wind is off the bay, so it will be a cooler day for you. But, boy, big-time heat on the way for Churchill, and I'll tell you more about that in a second. These are the overnight lows, and we've got either cloudy skies or a chance of some showers heading on into the evening hours. But the main event is really tomorrow afternoon in through northwestern Ontario. For the rest of us here in the southeast, it's just scattered showers, late evening, overnight, and the odd thunderstorm. It's not a complete area of rain or rain time period, but same in the southwest. These are scattered about, but they become a little less scattered as we get into Thursday afternoon. Across northern Manitoba, pretty mild for the overnight period. Only down to 18 in Norway House. Showers, a risk of a storm. Chance of a shower in the Paw. Churchill, you could see a sprinkle here and there, and a low of 14 tomorrow. A sunny 17. If you see some cloud in the morning, it should clear by about lunchtime. Same with Thompson, up around 26 degrees. Could see a thunderstorm in the afternoon in the Paw and off into Norway House. And then here in the south, we're just looking at a day where we'll see generally cloudy conditions, some showers, and a risk of a thunderstorm mixed in. And some of these thunderstorms could become severe, especially on into the afternoon and from about Portage La Prairie out to areas to the east. So including the Red River Valley, the White Shell, and then on into northwestern Ontario. A little bit of sun in the morning. The afternoon is your chance for showers or thunderstorms.
Thank you, John.
You bet, Janet.
Still ahead, families and drug users in Brandon, street drug users, are warned to watch out because some unusual pharmaceuticals, some medicines that you're not expecting could be mixed in with what you think you're buying. A powerful narcotic, one that doesn't respond to Narcan or naloxone, could be making life very precarious. We'll get you the advice you need next. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. Manitoba's southwestern health region has issued an alert about a potentially dangerous substance recently found in a street drug sample confiscated in Brandon. A beige powder that appeared in the city recently tested positive for fentanyl and bromazolam. Solange Machado is the Brandon coordinator with the Manitoba Harm Reduction Network, and she joins us now. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So what do we know about this new substance we're seeing mixed with street drugs, bromazolam?
So it's very new to the city, but what we know is that bromazolam is a benzodiazepine. So naloxone does not work on it, which is very risky for our people who use drugs. And we also know that it has similar effects to fentanyl and that it causes respiratory depression and sedation. So when the two are mixed together, it's very dangerous.
Oh my goodness. Benzodiazepines are depressants. They're sedatives. So fentanyl, which is something that has a high risk of overdose, this must just make everything 10 times worse.
Yeah, it definitely increases the risk for people who are out there using substances.
And we've come to believe that naloxone kits, the Narcan kits, they're the same drug effectively, that they might save somebody from an overdose, but they won't work on this drug.
Exactly. Naloxone only works on opioids, and since bromazolam is not an opioid, it will not have any effect on it.
So how frightening is that for you as someone who works with people who might be exposed to these drugs, these mixtures?
Yeah, it's very scary for our folks, so I'm just doing the best to educate people, let people know that it's in the community, and let them know what they should do in the event of an overdose.
Have we seen it reported in any other Manitoba cities?
I'm unsure.
Did things often spread once they're seen somewhere?
Yeah, usually it'll start in a city and kind of dissipate to the smaller community. So usually if it's in one community, we can expect it's in other communities as well.
So what is your advice for people who might use street drugs?
So if people are using substances and concerned that this might be in their substances, they can make sure they're never used alone, always have a friend with them. Start low and go slow when using substances. And since naloxone will be ineffective in this case, ensure that they have a way to make an emergency call in case an emergency was to arise.
So who do you call?
911.
911 and just get yourself to an ER or get your friend to the ER as quickly as possible.
Yeah, in this case, it's a medical emergency and that's the only thing you can do.
Oh my goodness, that is so frightening when you think of all the smaller communities in Manitoba where hospitals may be far, far away.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there anything we can do in the long run to make our drug supply safe or keep people safe from these dangerous mixtures?
The alerts and getting alerts out to people is really beneficial, but it would be nice to have better testing in Manitoba. So more accurate testing so people could test their drugs and know exactly what's in it. And of course, safe supply would be nice to have here in Manitoba. So hopefully we see some of those things in the next few years.
Is that something that you're hoping to improve, is the ability to test drugs at your harm reduction network?
Yeah, as a whole, Manitoba Harm Reduction Network is definitely interested in getting better access to drug testing here in Manitoba.
Solange Machado, thank you for telling us about this tonight.
Thank you.
Your daily lift is still ahead, and meteorologist John Sauter will have a 7-day forecast, so stay with us.
We'll likely get a couple of showers tonight, maybe a thunderstorm. If you don't see rain first thing in the morning, grab the umbrella anyway, because the afternoon we'll start to see more showers and storms. Then clearing on Friday, high pressure settles in for the weekend and kind of dries us out, and we get warm again, 26s and 27s from Saturday right through to Tuesday next week. A lot of people are looking for ways to economize these days, especially on luxury items.
Case in point, a mom in Nova Scotia who wanted a backyard pool for her young daughter. CBC's Danielle Edwards has our daily lift.
When you think of a boat, you usually think of it being on the water. But Olivia Kendall put a twist on it. The centerpiece of her backyard is the unusual pool she's recently finished building in the cockpit of an old motorboat.
I had gotten a quote for a stock tank pool, and it was just a little bit out of my budget range, quite a bit out of my budget range, actually.
Though she originally wanted to use a round galvanized steel tank in her backyard, she was discouraged by the high prices. It was only after coming across a chance listing that she started to look at other options.
I started thinking about what other type of container could hold water for a pool. And so I started looking around Facebook Marketplace, and something immediately popped up, and it was this boat listed for $300. And I figured if water can stay out of a boat, maybe it could be trapped in a boat.
The boat is an old Mercury model runabout made by the Chestnut Canoe Company, which was once based in Fredericton. Once she got the boat, the next step was getting it leveled. Then more pool equipment, also from Facebook Marketplace, including a pool pump, sand filter, a saltwater chlorinator, and of course, a place to put cold drinks for herself and her 3-year-old daughter Adele. Kendall says Adele and other kids in the neighborhood are big fans of the project.
And I heard it was going to be a really hot summer, and it was really important to get something going. She goes in it almost every day. If it's not raining, and if we have time, she's in there for sure. I've been able to get in a couple times myself as well.
After about a month of work, Kendall is looking forward to spending more time in the boat with her daughter for the rest of the summer.
Kendall says now that she's done the pool, she's going to spruce up the area a bit. That's going to include painting, lights, and adding some landscaping to the hull of the boat. Danielle Edwards, CBC News, Dartmouth.
It looks great.
It does. And the kids loving it. I love the fact that with that old steering wheel there, and they left that as part of the pool. I think that's a lot of fun.
That's beautiful. Now, after you've used it as a pool, can you make it a boat again? That's the question for next summer, I suppose.
I'm not so sure. But
She's handy at finding things at Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
I wonder how much the other stuff cost her. Pretty cool.
Good way to stay cool.
Tell ya. Thank you for being with us this evening. See you tomorrow.
Good night.